Hi, today we're going to take a look at the smallHD focus monitor. This is one of the most popular 5-inch monitors on the market right now, and we're going to check it out. So let's start. Today we're doing our first of several monitor reviews here on LensVid. The monitor that we are starting with is one of the most popular models of the past year, the smallHD Focus. There are already quite a few reviews of this monitor online, so we will just stick to what we really liked about this monitor and what we think smallHD still needs to address. So let's start with what we liked, and there is quite a lot of it. The Focus is made from plastic for the most part. It would be nice if it was made out of metal like some of smallHD's more expensive models, but the upside is that this is a very light monitor. Ready to go with a battery and an arm, it is just over 440 grams or a bit over 15.5 ounces, which is ideal for placing it on top of small mirrorless cameras like our A6500, which we use for this review. When we learned that the Focus has a screen resolution of only 720p when some less expensive monitors are 1080p, we're a little bit concerned. But after using this monitor, we can tell you that this is certainly sharp enough for critical focus for a 5-inch monitor. The Focus has a fantastic touchscreen, which combined with a really neat interface smallHD designed, which is based on screens that you can flip between, add tools and turn them off quickly, is a joy to use. The screen itself has good viewing angles, significantly better than the poor quality of our Sony A6500 display. As for daylight viewing, we got this monitor in the early winter, so we didn't really have a chance to view it in the bright midsummer sun, but from our testing it seems to perform well, although we're still a bit skeptical that its 800 nits of brightness will truly be perfectly viewable in the middle of a bright summer's day. One other thing, you still get some glare with this screen, and the touchscreen catches fingerprints like a magnet. The monitor has lots and lots of features. Tapping on the left side of the screen will bring the option to add a new tool. You can change the aspect ratio, set safe zones, crosshair, or different exposure tools such as exposure assist, which is basically false colors, although there is no option to change the colors, zebras, color picker, or different types of scopes such as live histogram, waveform, or vector scope. For focusing, you have the focus assist and peaking, but we actually prefer the pinch to zoom, which works great, although it would be nice if double tapping the screen would bring it to 1:1 magnification. You also get the option to overlay info such as LOTs, more on this in a second, image overlay, and even capture a stills image to an SD card. Maybe the most important tool here is the sound meters, which are very helpful, and you can also hear sounds by connecting headphones to the headphone jack, although that has one important limitation. There are a few other options, but these are the most important ones. Adding LOTs is extremely simple. Just put them on an SD card and turn them on in the monitor's menu. What's nice is that you can have a dedicated screen for your LOT, so you can work with or without it by swiping left or right. The menu system is super simple, and the latest firmware version allows for calibration, which is really nice, although you would need a dedicated tool for proper calibration, which our review unit might actually need. You can buy the Focus on its own, but we got it as a kit, which cost an extra $100 and is actually very rich, including the really nice swivel arm, 2 micro HDMI cables, 1 micro HDMI to micro HDMI, and 1 full female HDMI, as well as a cold shoe, a dummy battery, screen protector, and a USB cable for some future use. One of the coolest features of the Focus is the ability to charge your camera by using the battery that powers the monitor. All you need to do is pick up the right dummy battery for the camera when you get the kit. We went with a Sony dummy battery, which worked for 2 or even 3 times the life of our camera battery. It really depends on the camera and settings. Do note that we had a small issue with our dummy battery, more on that in a second. The NPF style battery that came with the kit lasts for a long time, and we got through a full day of shooting with it. It didn't power the camera though. However, it is recommended that you get a second battery if you're shooting for a long time, or even 2 if you're also powering your camera. Our Focus came with a nice padded soft case. If you're using the monitor without the arm, this is great. However, if you do want to keep the arm attached to the monitor for travel when you remove it from the camera, a different case would be better. We happen to have this inexpensive padded pouch which fits the monitor with the arm and even a battery and some accessories. Very cool, and it is also really inexpensive. We'll have a link in the full article. smallHD should definitely make one of their own if you ask us. For us, one of the most useful features of the Focus is something really tiny but super helpful, and that is the inclusion of a gyroscope which turns the view of the screen 180 degrees when you flip it over, allowing you to easily shoot yourself and make sure that the framing is correct. This is of course possible due to the great smallHD arm that comes with the kit. We love working with the focus, but there are a few things that we think that smallHD needs to fix if there will ever be a version 2 of this monitor, and you should keep in mind before you decide to take the plunge and buy this monitor. In our view, one of the biggest drawbacks of this monitor is the lack of an HDMI out. This means that if you want to connect the monitor to a second, say, larger screen, you can't. This is something that we would be willing to pay extra for, and we hope it will be included in the next iteration of this monitor. At the time of making this video, there is also no way of powering the monitor apart from the NPF battery. However, the good news is that smallHD should have an AC power to a dummy Sony NPF battery soon, and they're also trying to find a way to power the monitor using DTAP, which can also be helpful if you're using larger batteries to power the rest of your gear. One small but annoying thing that has to do with the design of the monitor is the location of the headphone jack. We really appreciate having a headphone jack, especially since the A6500 lacks one, but when you have the arm attached, connecting a straight headphone cable can be a challenge. The jack should have been on the left side for easy access. You can bypass this problem with a 90-degree angle short extension cable, but what you can't seem to bypass is the fact that the sound from the monitor seems to have a small but somewhat annoying delay in real time, so monitoring while shooting is going to be a bit of a nuisance. We've mentioned before that we had an issue with our Sony NPF FW50 dummy battery that we got with the kit. Apparently, for some reason, a bunch of these were made just a little bit too long, which means that it is almost impossible to use them inside the camera. You really need to push hard. You can fix this if you really want to by shaving a bit from the top of the dummy battery. It is just plastic after all, but it is something that smallHD needs to address, and they are aware of this manufacturing issue. As we have mentioned, in the kit you get a short micro HDMI to micro HDMI cable as well as a micro HDMI to female HDMI cable. Both are nice and useful. The issue is that because of the design of the connections in the screen itself, which are made to prevent accidental pull of the cables, a good thing by itself, the cables are proprietary, which means that if they do break or get lost, you won't be able to just buy any old HDMI cable, and you will need to get a replacement from smallHD. The arm that comes with the kit is fantastic. It is made from metal and very useful and convenient. The only drawback is that the locking piece and connecting parts are made from plastic, which might break eventually, but also seem to allow for an ever so slight angle on the monitor. Maybe we are getting too picky here. Anyway, we are hoping that smallHD will make the entire arm and all its components from metal the next time around. Finally, the on-off button requires a pretty long press. This is probably to prevent accidental use. We would actually prefer a switch as it is quicker and more practical. It will also be cool if there was a slip button for preserving power. On the plus side, the monitor does turn on and it wires the signal very quickly, even as it is. Before we conclude, there is one last thing which has nothing to do with the focus but more to do with our Sony a6500. If you're using any monitor with this camera, you need to know that when you start recording, you will lose the image on your screen, which is very annoying, and if you shoot slow motion in camera, it will turn off the screen completely even when you're just in live view. Sony really needs to address these issues. So let's wrap things up. In a short amount of time, the Focus has become an enormously popular monitor, and after using it for a while, we definitely understand why. The Focus is a compact, lightweight and sharp monitor with good viewing angles and lots of useful built-in features that are controlled by an excellent touch-based interface. It also comes with some really nice accessories, which is why we would highly recommend that you spend the extra money on the kit for your specific camera. As we have mentioned, the Focus has a number of limitations. The first is the lack of an HDMI out port, which might not be a big deal for some users, but if you want to use another monitor, you don't have the option. Another thing is that you can't use AC to power the monitor. This might change very soon when smallHD will introduce a dummy battery, which can be a really useful solution not just for the Focus but for many devices that use NPF style batteries. There are also some nagging design issues like the mislocated 3.5mm headphone jack when used with the arm and the lag in the sound, as well as the inconvenience of having to use a proprietary HDMI cable. But if you can work around all of these, you will get a really fantastic little monitor. As for pricing, at $500, the Focus focus is certainly not the most inexpensive 5-inch monitor around, but with all of the features, it is a very appealing option, and the $100 extra for the kit is definitely a great deal, which we highly recommend that you will consider if you're buying this monitor. So that was our look at the smallHD Focus. You can read the full review on lensvid.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can find a lot more videos just like this. See you next time.